So, with all of these attacks and all the different things that are happening, what can be done to protect against these vulnerabilities that come inherently with EMI?
It's a good question. It's a great question, right? So EMI can introduce various vulnerabilities across electromagnetic systems and devices, especially in critical systems that I just mentioned above,
Sure.
right? Healthcare and so forth. And if they're using wireless to communicate and transmit data,
Hmm.
a lot of these IoT protocols and frequencies that are now being used are going unmonitored. Not a lot of companies have the monitoring capabilities in place to look at the new frequencies and protocols that IoT is using. So therefore, a lot of these attacks are going unnoticed. And hence the reason for better understanding the impact of these EMI attack surface. And as I mentioned, right, there's a lot of attacks out there.
Hmm.
They're leveraging these new vulnerabilities at layer 0, and things that EMI specifically will impact are things like data corruption, which is loss of data transmission.
Sure.
EMI can affect the malfunction of devices,
Hmm.
whereby it can disrupt the normal operations or behavior of these devices and ultimately leads to exploitation. EMI can affect interference in communications, whereby you have signal loss or signal degradation and so forth. So interference in communication is a big one, and also just the general impact of these IoT devices.
Hmm.
If they are impacted by EMI, it will affect the protocol itself, and it will affect the ability to update them. So that's a huge problem. And one of the biggest impacts that I'm seeing within my customer base is that when they get compromised, the battery life on these IoT devices gets drained. So if you've rolled out, thousands or hundreds of thousands of IoT devices, and there's a malfunction in EMI, or there's an attack across EMI, and the battery has been reduced quite significantly, it means there's a lot of work in pulling them off the floor, the operations floor. So again, reduced battery is a huge problem with EMI as well. And of course, right, EMI is a new attack surface. Not a lot of
Hmm.
customers are aware of this, and it's creating new security risks. And it's allowing unauthorized access to the network and devices. As I mentioned, 2 or 3 attacks just a minute ago. Through the power supply, you can now jump from the airspace, to EMI devices,
Hmm.
and that is one of the significant vulnerabilities customers should be aware of. And the net of it all is that customers have not implemented a power intrusion detection system to detect these new exposure states. So that's some of the risks associated with EMI, and ultimately, EMI vulnerabilities can also lead to real health and safety concerns. If you think about it, right, our critical infrastructure, our operation technology environments that may be controlling water and power supplies and so forth could be affected by EMI attacks and potentially endangering our citizens. So these are some of the attacks that risk of threats that EMI brings to the table.